Joining me now is one of those candidates we were just talking about, the former Arkansas governor, current Republican presidential candidate, Asa Hutchinson. Governor Hutchinson, thank you for making time to be with us. You told my colleague Vaughn Hilliard that you would do what you need to do to get on the debate stage. You know the RNC is effectively saying that you have to pledge to support the nominee, even if that person was convicted of a crime. So what are you going to do?
Well, as I said, it's important to be on the debate stage. Whenever you look at Republican voters in Iowa and New Hampshire, they want to see the candidates there. It's really the first time that they give an exchange back and forth. They're tested. And so it's important for our candidates to be there. And I believe that it ought to be inclusive. We should not be exclusive in the first couple of debates particularly. So they set a criteria. I intend to be on that debate. People are telling me it's important. They want to hear my message. And I think it's going to be a great contrast. Now, I disagree with the strategy as to how you're going to disqualify some for being on that debate stage. I've been a Republican all my life. In Arkansas, we've built the Republican Party, and part of it was opposing the Democrats that had a party loyalty oath. And I didn't like it 30 years ago, and I don't like party loyalty oaths. The American people are more independent. They want to hear voices. And obviously, you want it within the framework of the Republican principles and party. But no one should question my Republican credentials as I want to be on that debate stage.
So if it's necessary for you to be on the debate stage to say that you would support the nominee, are you open to breaking your word on that promise if necessary, if he ultimately becomes the nominee?
You know, I'm troubled by that because your word means something to me, and I don't lightly sign oaths, and so I want to look at the language that they present. But I want to support the nominee of the party, and I intend to, because I believe the nominee of the party is either going to be me or somebody that I can support, and I don't believe it's going to be Donald Trump.
So if you can't support...
to say that we're going to...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Governor. So if you're not comfortable supporting Donald Trump, if he could be a convicted felon, I know you don't support Joe Biden. Who would you support if it's not you?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to get into who else might be an acceptable candidate. I like them all. They're fellow governors, many of them. I've known them. I think they're great conservatives. Obviously, I believe I'm a better choice, and that's what the debate is about. And so I intend to support the Republican nominee. I don't believe it will be Donald Trump. That's why I'm running for president. And we're going to sort this through over the next month and a half to make sure that we're qualified for it. But let's not be restrictive early on. Let's let the debate happen and the American people decide this. These are serious issues that impact not just the Republican Party, but our country and everybody that might be on the ballot in 2024. So let's make sure we have a nominee that can attract independent voters and suburban voters and win in November. And you've got a lot of chaos and uncertainty and criminal indictments and wrong behavior on one side that should cause pause.
So just to be clear, the RNC seemingly took a pretty harsh swipe at you directly in a statement. They said candidates who were complaining about this to the press should seriously reconsider their priorities and whether they should even be running. What does it say about a party if the will of its voters is to potentially nominate a candidate facing serious charges on handling classified documents? Could you remain in that party?
Well, I think the issue is, do you want loyalty to the Republican principles, or do you want loyalty to a particular person? It's not a Trump party, it's a Republican party. I'm of the, I believe in the party of Ronald Reagan, and that's what I think is important today. It's not a Trump party, even though he has a lot of support out there, and we want to be able to win those voters into the mainstream principles that I'm advocating that takes the country in the right direction.
Vivek Ramaswamy is asking every fellow presidential candidate to commit to pardoning Donald Trump. Do you think there are folks in this field who are merely running to be his vice president or to have a spot of power under him? Are you comfortable with that idea? Obviously, you're not comfortable with the idea of pardoning in advance. All the facts haven't been there. But what do you make of that campaign pledge that he desires?
Well, it seems that he's running with Donald Trump. I'm running against Donald Trump for the presidency of the United States. And I think there's differences there, and we should not be currying votes or trying to get votes based upon a promise of a pardon. And it's premature. It is wrong to be talking about those kind of pardons during a presidential campaign when their justice system has not even worked yet.
Yeah, so naturally, Governor, the follow-up would be, you said that you can't support a convicted felon if they were the nominee, but could you support a nominee who pledges to pardon a convicted felon?
Well, again, I'm not going to get into that.
Fine.
Because I want to be able to support the nominee of the party. I'm going to work hard to be that nominee. We're going to have a very competitive race, and the voters are going to be able to decide exactly who that's going to be.
We've heard this common refrain, Governor, from your fellow candidates this week. It's been that they are against the so-called weaponization of the Justice Department. I could play a ton of clips for you right now, but are you concerned that the top voices in your party are undermining the rule of law in this country?
You know, we should follow the facts, and there's been significant facts that's laid out in the criminal grand jury indictment against Donald Trump. Those are facts that are laid out. If someone believes that the Justice Department is acting politically, or that somehow there's been pressure applied to distort these facts, let them lay that out. But sure, I disagree with some of the decisions of the Department of Justice, but this case stands on its own.
Yeah.
And if anybody cares about the secrets of our country and our military, this should cause you pause, and let's see how the facts develop during the course of the trial. But I don't buy into the question about the Justice Department falsely making up this case.
Yeah, we spent enough time talking about that. Let me ask you about some policy issues. The Iowa Supreme Court deadlocked today, leaving a 20-week abortion ban on the books instead of a 6-week ban passed in 2018. What law do you think is better for Iowa, the first primary caucus state, 20 weeks or 6 weeks?
Well, Iowa should make its decision through the legislature.
How about
and
for
through
America?
Their
How about for
Constitution.
America if it landed on your plate?
Well, first of all, America's abortion policy is going to be determined by the states right now. Arkansas has a very restrictive abortion policy. Other states do not. Each state is going to determine it through their elected officials and their Constitution. If you ask me about the national policy, if we get there and there is a consensus, then I'm going to look at it. And if it has the proper restrictions with reasonable exceptions that are broadly based with the American public, then I would sign that. But that consensus has not been developed yet. And obviously I'm pro-life, and so I would advocate for a restrictive policy on abortion as long as there are exceptions there that the American public accept and can live with.
Governor, it's a Pride Month right now. There's a popular movement in the country, specifically in conservative circles, to support boycotts of companies like Bud Light that partnered with a trans influencer, Target that sells Pride merchandise. What is your view of those boycotts?
Well, consumers should speak, and I'd much rather consumers speak as to products that they support or like, and they don't disagree with their policies, versus the government coming in and saying, we're going to restrict you or punish you because of what you've said. And so consumers can speak, and that's their freedom, and that's the wonderful place about American free enterprise system. Obviously, I disagree with some of the statements and agendas that's pushed by some corporations, but I also don't believe government should come in and punish them. It's the free market, and let's let business do their business and make their decisions, and if they make a mistake, the consumers will make them pay for it.
Former Governor Asa Hutchinson, Republican candidate for president from the state of Arkansas. Mr. Governor, thank you for making time for us.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.